You know, have you ever used an app that just clicks? Like everything is exactly where you think it should be and it's just a breeze to use? But then you open a different one and wow, it's a total mess. So why is that? Well, today we're going to pull back the curtain on the hidden art of digital flow, mastering interface structure. I'm pretty sure we've all been there, right? You're just tapping around, totally lost, trying to find one simple button. You know what you want to do, but the app just isn't showing you how to get there. It's probably one of the most common and honestly most annoying experiences we have with technology. That's the perfect way to put it. Seriously, imagine walking into a grocery store, you just need to milk, and you find it sitting right next to the hammers and nails. It makes zero sense. Your brain just short circuits. Well, that's exactly what it feels like when an app's structure is all wrong. It completely breaks our expectations. So let's actually put a name to this thing. We're talking about the frustration problem. It's that exact moment when an app that seems great on the surface just becomes a nightmare to use because its basic layout is a total disaster. And this comparison really gets to the heart of it all. On the one hand, you have complete chaos. Buttons are hidden, information is all over the place, and there's no clear way forward. It makes your brain work way too hard. But on the other hand, you have clarity. The main buttons are super obvious, things that belong together are grouped together, and it creates the smooth, easy journey for you. This right here is the core issue. When every screen feels like its own separate random puzzle, you have to relearn the rules every single time you tap. That feeling of things being disconnected is what makes you feel lost and frustrated, and it's usually why we just give up and delete the app. So if that's the problem, what's the solution? Well, it all comes down to having a solid blueprint from the very beginning. Let's dig into what interface structure actually is. Okay, here's the textbook definition, but what does that really mean? It's just the process of carefully arranging everything you see on the screen. And it's not just about making things look pretty. It's about making them work better, making them easier to use, to read, and to get around in. You can really break it down into these three main goals. First, usability. Can you get things done easily? Second, readability. Can you quickly scan and understand what's on the screen? And third, navigation clarity. Do you always know where you are and where you can go next? It's that simple. So how do designers actually pull this off? Well, it's all about making smart, deliberate choices. They rearrange the visual hierarchy, which means making the most important stuff stand out. They use spacing to make things feel less cluttered and to show you what's related. And they group similar items together so your brain doesn't have to work so hard to connect the dots. All right, so how do we put this into practice? Well, it all starts with the single most important rule in design. You've got to put the user first, always. And this is absolutely crucial. See, a great design doesn't try to force you to think in a new way. Nope. It watches how you naturally behave and builds a structure that supports your habits. The entire goal is to make it feel totally intuitive and just easy. And designers do this through a pretty cool process. They'll watch how real people actually use the screen. They'll even track where their eyes move first. And based on all that data, they can put the most important buttons and actions right where you would naturally expect them to be. It's kind of part science, part empathy. And you can see this in action literally everywhere. On any good screen, there's a main thing you're probably there to do. That's the primary action. A good structure makes that button big or colorful or right in the middle. Then all the other stuff, the secondary actions, they're made a little less obvious. It's like a gentle guide for your eyes. Okay, so once you're thinking like the user, the next big step is to apply that thinking across the entire app. And this leads us to the magic of consistency. Just think about it for a second. When the save button is in the exact same spot on every single screen, you don't even have to look for it anymore. Your brain just knows. That predictability is what makes a really complex app feel simple and easy to learn, especially when you're using it for the first time. And this is the big payoff. Disconnected screens feel jarring, right? You're constantly having to figure things out again. But a unified system, one with patterns that repeat, makes you feel smart. You feel confident, you feel in control because you've already learned the rules of this little digital world. All right, let's bring it all home. When you put all this hard work into structure and consistency, what's the end result? What's the big professional payoff? Well, for you, the user, the benefits are huge. You can get things done way faster. You have what's called a reduced cognitive load, which is just a fancy way of saying you don't have to think so hard. And all of this works together to create a totally seamless, almost invisible experience. At the end of the day, this is what separates the amateur stuff from a truly professional product.
A solid interface structure is the foundation. It's that invisible framework holding everything together, turning a bunch of separate screens into one cohesive experience.
So I'll leave you with this little challenge. Later today, pull out your phone, scroll through your apps, and ask yourself, which one of these just feels confusing? Which one makes me work too hard? Now you know why. And hey, it's not you. It's the structure.